you 24 days to the governorship election in Edo State. My name is Habiba Oyege Oyarekwa, your regular host on the program. This morning we are going to be chatting with Osayuwamen Aladeselu, who is the SSA and of course the focal person at Edo State Social Investment Program. She has a very towering CV before me, so I'll just read it out. She is a social development practitioner with over 20 years experience working in the development sector and has coordinated community, skill acquisition, and other projects geared towards the empowerment of women and youths. She holds a master's degree in social work from the University of Benin, Benin City, Edo State. Osayuwamen Aladeselu is a UNICEF-trained reproductive health care educator trainer and has been trained by the Nigerian Social Protection Unit of the World Bank as a gender and vulnerable project officer. She has trained over 150 community project management committee members on social inclusion of gender and vulnerable groups, and has also trained over 100 school-age children and youths on life-building skills under the counter-trafficking program of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and the United Nations Inter-Regional Crime and Justice Research Institute, UNICRI. Osayuwamen Aladeselu has been a delegate at the United Nations Women Conference in New York under the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women at the 2014, 2015, and 2018 sessions. She received an award for peace building and youth empowerment by Peace Corps of Nigeria and was conferred a patron for same. She is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Public Diplomacy and Management, a member of the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria and the Nigerian Institute of Management. Under the Social Investment Program, she coordinated over 12,000 youths under the NPower scheme focused on reducing youth unemployment, as well as the Edo State-owned initiative called the Edo Startup Fund, where over 50 startups are able to access funding trainings and leverage on the opportunities, and of course, other opportunities available to them. Worthy of note was the increase in the number of persons to access the Tony Elumelu Foundation grant of $5,000 in Edo State under the Edo State Startup Fund, which was carried out at the Tony Elumelu grant application for over 2,000 youths in Edo State. Your CV is quite imposing.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
And how has it been running the NPower and the scheme?
It's been good. It's been good. It's been wonderful for me. And the Social Investment Program actually has 5 programs, but in Edo State we have it as 6 programs because Governor Godwin Obaseki decided to add 1 program. So we have the Job Creation and Youth Employment Program, which is also known as the NPower, which is the one that you know and many people know of most in Edo State. We also have the Conditional Cash Transfer Program. We have the Homegrown School Feeding Program. We have the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program. We have the NSIP Hubs, and we have the Edo Startup Fund Initiative, which is the initiative of Governor Godwin Obaseki for youths in Edo State.
I like that. You just give us an overview of your program.
Yes.
Good. Now, where does your program overlap with the state government's policy, and where does the handshake happen?
Okay, so the Social Investment Program is actually a joint program. So some people like to think about it as a federal government program alone, but it's not, because the federal government and the state government actually shake hands right from inception. So, for example, the NPower program. The NPower program beneficiaries are told to go online to register, to apply, and when they scale through that process, they do a test. Once that process is done, it's handed over to the state government. The state government will now follow up with a physical verification of those people who have applied, because actually the NPower program is about those who are resident in that state. So we'll go and do physical verification, so we ask the beneficiaries to come. So the state government actually funds that. In the Social Investment Program, the federal government pays directly to the beneficiaries. So
you must be resident in
yes,
Edo State.
So if you're in another state, you must be resident. So it doesn't mean that you have to be an indigent, but as far as you are a resident in that state and you are resident in a local government area. So for example, an Empower beneficiary who's resident in Oredo local government will be posted to a place of primary assignment in Oredo local government area. So like I was saying, the federal government pays money directly to the beneficiaries. I mean, that is a wonderful process so that the beneficiaries are able to access their money directly. However, the state government is the one that funds the operations, everything about the state office. So for example, I'm a staff of the state government. The state government actually finances our salaries. So my staff who work with me, the state government actually pays their salary. For all our monitoring activities that will go across the state, it's the state government that actually pays that. When we're doing trainings for beneficiaries and whatever, it's the state government that actually pays for that. The vehicle and everything that has to do with operations. So the federal government pays directly to the beneficiaries their stipends, but the state government takes all the responsibility of every other thing that happens in the social investment program. So it's actually a joint program, and we're the ones who monitor, who actually supervise. So for example, the Empower beneficiaries are posted to, for those who are in NTEACH, for example, they are posted to a school. It is the government staff, is the state government staff that actually supervises them during their work in the primary assignment. And then we, as a state office, also go and monitor them to ensure that these people are actually adhering to the ideals of the program.
Now, so who pays more? Is it the federal government or the state government? I
like to say that, I mean, it's almost the same thing. It's almost the same thing. There's a lot that the federal government brings in, but because of the other expenses that are borne by the state government,
logistics,
everything. When you quantify it, you see that it's close to what the federal government is paying. It's just that because beneficiaries directly receive from the federal government, sometimes we actually do not really emphasize what the state government does, which is what I'm trying to let people know, that actually it's the state government and federal government's partnership. And so, for example, the conditional cash transfer program and some other programs in the social investment program, of course, there was an MOU signed by both parties to ensure that you know your role, you know your responsibilities, and you keep to it.
So what if the state government, for instance, refuses to pay? You say, don't look?
Of course, because that is what the difference is in our state and some of the states. We have political will of the governor. The governor ensures that this program is working and is working effectively. When the Empower program started in December 2016, His Excellency just had heard about it, and he said, okay, there's a program coming for Empower. I want this program to succeed. So he invited the SSA to the president on job creation at that time to come to Edo State to speak to all the people who will be involved, so the critical stakeholders. He actually set up a committee immediately and said, okay, I need to make sure that this program works in the state. I don't want any minute loss, and I don't want any person to be left out. So the excellent Governor Godwin Obaseki ensured from the beginning that this program was working, even for the school feeding program. The school feeding program, yes, it's a federal government program, but in Edo State, we started the school feeding program with state funds. His Excellency said, we have to start this program. I'm going to start it with the two poorest local government areas based on the lack of social infrastructure.
And which are the two poorest local government
areas? Based
on
his own assessment for lack of social infrastructures and all that.
And
Uhunde. Okay. Because looking at some of the things, he saw that they didn't have a lot of basic amenities. So if you go to some places, for example, in Uhunde, there is no general hospital in the whole of the local government area. So when we were actually doing the process of onboarding the caterers, the cooks, you know, the cooks had to come to Benin to do some of their tests because we have to do a screening for them, you know. So that shows you that there's something that they needed to do. That is why His Excellency.
Did you pick the cooks from the local government?
Yes. So that's why His Excellency is trying to make sure is working on the EDOHI program to ensure that at least people in every local government are able to access basic health care. So for the school feeding program, His Excellency brought the funds to start off the program. So we fed primary 4 to 6 pupils while the federal government was feeding primary 1 to 3. But he didn't just do that. The difference is that, and only in other few states, Governor Godwin Obaseki provided funds to purchase coolers for the cooks, aprons for the cooks, plates and spoons from some of the pupils. At that time when we started, before the federal government paid. The federal government just paid money for the food for primary 1 to 3. for some of the schools that were ready to start off in one day. But Governor Obaseki paid for the coolers for everybody, whether you're feeding federal government 1 to 3 or you're feeding the state 4 to 6 coolers and plates and spoons for the children. Of course, as we started to progress, more students, more pupils came on board, which is part of the core objectives of the program. So for me, in Edo State, the school feeding program is a state government program as well as a federal government program. And when we're going to monitor them, you see that they're appreciative of what His Excellency has done. They didn't need to go and purchase a cooler by themselves.
So what are the core areas of intervention, and how do you measure the impact of your own intervention? Okay,
so the Social Investment Program is actually a social protection program. It seeks to empower those who are vulnerable, those who are poor. So looking at the Empower Program, for example, the Empower Program started at youths, those between the ages of 18 to 35 years old. So first of all, there are so many young people who were unemployed, and some of them were graduates. And when they got on board, we posted them to some places. For those who were graduates, posted them to the institution, government institutions. So primary schools, secondary schools, primary health centers. Some of them who are in community were posted to the councils, and then those in Enagro, those who were for the agriculture, was working as agricultural extension assistants with the ADP. Now, looking at that, you see that some of them were able to do some community projects for the communities. So you see that in some schools, in some primary health centers, they didn't have any signpost that shows that this is a health center. Some of them actually contributed their funds after we talked to them that you need to give back. The federal government has done this, the state government has done this. What are you also doing? So they actually did some signposts. In Eweka Service Primary School, the Empower Entity beneficiaries put funds together and now constructed a volleyball court for that school. Yes, I went to go and launch that project. If you go to some other places, you see some of the things. There was a rollback malaria program. So one of the Empower beneficiaries, along with his colleagues, now did a fight against malaria program in Utagban PHC. And many of them came out to check, and they found out that they tested and that they had malaria, and they had free drugs that were given to them. And they had a general awareness and talk about what causes malaria and all that. In fact, when I went there, they actually tested me just to kickstart the program. Then you look at...
there were doctors administering the drugs and
nurses. There were nurses. It was a primary health center, because they work in the primary health center. So there are matrons and there are nurses. Yes. In some of the primary health care centers, there are some doctors, but there are more matrons and nurses, and the Empower persons, especially those who have health background. Then for the Enagro, agriculture for us is the next big thing, and they work with the ADP. Now, the ADP, what they do is that they go to the local farmers and teach them some things, but they don't have enough staff. So the Empower people, helped a lot in that regard. So every fortnight, they teach them on new principles of farming, new techniques of farming, new inputs. So these Empower people now go to the field, to different communities. They go to where the farmers are and teach them about these new techniques. Of course, sometimes when you go and meet an old person who has been doing this work, he will tell you, what before you started, before you were born, exactly. Me and my grandfather have been doing these things. And they said, okay, no problem. This is your own spot, this is my own spot. Let me do my own demonstration. And they saw that, oh, really, your own has better yield. And it was like, okay, maybe the Empower people were just praising themselves. So in 2018 and 2019, the World Food Day celebration, October 16th, the Empower people pulled funds together, of course, with some support from the state government to celebrate that day. And they invited some of the farmers. You need to hear the farmers talking about how the work that the Empower people have been doing just by coming to them to see what they're doing. And then the Empower people didn't just stop there. They also purchased some inputs, some cutlasses and all that, and some materials for the farmers, And the testimonies for the farmers showed how they enjoyed what the Empower people have been doing. So there's a lot of training, and that is paid by the state government for the training every fortnight, and there's another one that they do every other week, every week. So you could see that the farmers were testifying of the better results, the yield that they've gotten based on these new techniques. Now, that's just for the Empower program, the graduate section. The non-graduate section, where you don't have to be, even though sometimes some graduates actually participate in the non-graduate section, but what it's about is more of entrepreneurship. So they train them on skills, on how to start some businesses. So we have some of them, for example, in N-Build. they are trained to be masons or auto mechanics. So we actually partnered with Lady Mechanic to teach some of them, so that they can from there do 3 months in-center training and the 9 months apprenticeship, and they can start their own businesses. Then we had the Creative, when they taught them how to, things on 3D animation and post script writing and all that. We also had those were Tech software. Those they taught them about things to have to do with software creation, creating the website and all that. By Tech hardware, those were able to repair phones, some gadgets, basically, so that they can start off their own small businesses and also become employers of labor. Yeah. For the school feeding program, 3 core objectives. The first one is to increase school enrollment and retention. Second one is to give form of employment to the women in the communities. And the third one was to boost local economy. So you asked me previously how if we selected these women from these local government areas. His Excellency Governor Obaseki is someone who believes in the grassroots approach. And so he says we start, the bottom-up approach. And so he actually had constituted the World Development Committees in Orion and Uwonde before it spread to the other local government areas. And he said these women who are going to be cooks in the schools that are in their communities should be the ones who will cook. So somebody in Benin should not be the one cooking for a school in Uronigbe, for instance, in around local government areas. So the World Development Committees, who are those on ground, were the ones who identified, with the help of all the leaders and the women and the community, to say these women, they live in these communities, so they should be the ones so that they can just stroll from their houses to the school. So at least they can save money and not spend money of transportation. I'm just trying to emphasize how His Excellency made sure that the people who were selected were those who were meant to be in the program. And the children, when they know that food, they're going to have 1 free meal per day, of course they won't want to miss school. So adding with the Edo Best achievements, the children also want to come to school because they know that they're going to get a free meal. And when I was doing some monitoring in one of the communities in Orion local government, I went into the community and I saw a woman. I said, is your child in this school? Are you aware about school feeding? She said, yes. So that her child attends the school. In fact, her child is the first to get to the school because she knows that she's going to get one free meal. It's always different because we're just across the school. So they actually appreciated it. I said, okay, we should continue. We should ensure that we do more so that more people will benefit from that. Then the cooks get money. So a woman who is in the community who has never, maybe doesn't have a job or is just waiting there, maybe just doing small farming, now gets sort of a salary, because every day you cook and you are paid for the number of children that you cook, so per head.
Of course, you also eat out of the food.
Thank you. So we do that, and so they get money every day. Another thing is that they're actually supposed to purchase food from the farmers in that community. So the money that comes into the community, whether it's from the local federal government or for the state government, stays in that community. So it boosts the local economy.
Thank you.
Basically.
All right. If you are just joining us, we're chatting with Osayuwamen Aladeselu, the SSA and focal person, Edo State Social Investment Program. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the challenges that the Edo youths are facing and, of course, how the government is able to. Please stay with us.
If we not be Godwin, we not go vote any of that person, we not go vote.
My good people of Afeme Sako, election time don't reach again. Make we shine our eyes and use our brain before we vote on September 19. Don't forget, say, before Governor Godwin Obaseki come, local government for Edo State die patapata. Workers no get salary for many months, but Agberus them. They collect local government money, put for pocket, they marry many wives, they buy car and they build house. But God come hear our prayer and bring Obaseki come to come save Edo people, especially local government workers, from all this wickedness. That's now why we go vote for Godwin Obaseki and Philip Shaibu again for this election to continue with their good mind and their good work for Edo State. So, on election day, will be September 19, take your PVC and vote for progress and development. Vote for Godwin Obaseki and Philip Shaibu. Vote PDP. Remember, say na umbrella will be the symbol of PDP. You go gum your finger put to PDP. Power to the people. Now the executive chairman, Esako West Local Government Council, Honorable Imonofi Inusa, bring una this message.
Oga, make you carry your tickets go.
You're welcome back to the program. Now, Osayuwamen, there is the talk of a national social register, which your office is charged with interfacing with them. And what is the criteria for selecting those register? And what is the spread within Edo State?
Okay,
but we want to know if you're just going to focus on Edo South because it's the capital. We don't know. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this program is actually a very core social protection program. It's actually targeting the poorest of the poor and the vulnerable. So in April 2015, the World Bank had developed a poverty map. And what that poverty map does is that it ranks the poor local government areas, so the poorest, the least poor local government areas. And of course, they use different methods to achieve that poverty map. And after that, because this program is a conditional cash transfer program, the National Social Register is developed as a result of the conditional cash transfer program, which is done in conjunction with the National Social Safety Net program in Abuja and the World Bank. So it's like a tri-partnership kind of thing. And after that, just to ensure that for the pilot phase, we carry along all the 3 senatorial districts. Following the poverty map, 2 local governments per senatorial districts were selected. So in Edo South, we have Oredo and Ovia Southwest. In Edo Central, we have Igweben and East and West. And in Edo North, we have Owan East and Isako Central. Now, what happens is that, because it's easy for me and you to just sit down here and say, oh, this other lady that cannot wear any earrings, she's poor. Or that man that is wearing that shoe, he's rich. But that's not how it is. So a global practice is used, which is called the community-based targeting mechanism. What that means is that, there are different kinds of targeting. There's the geographical targeting, there's the categorical targeting. But what that means is that community-based targeting, you go to the field and meet the people in their communities. So the state government also has a large role to play. So when I'm talking about social investment program, being a joint program, so the federal government says this is what we want to do. The state government is responsible for setting up the office responsible. So my office has 2 units that are under the conditional cash transfer program, which is the State Operations Coordinating Unit and the State Cash Transfer Unit. And we work in partnership with our institutional partners in the state, which is the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning and the Ministry of Gender and Social Development. So the first team, the first unit, which is SOCO, the State Operations Coordinating Unit, they train field officers called the community-based targeting teams. Those ones are actually in those different local government areas. So for example, let's say Ovia Southwest, they train them, they teach them the principles. They go to the communities and facilitate. The key word here is facilitate. They do not tell them that you and you and you are poor. They facilitate the community participatory process. So they tell the community people that, okay, because poverty is relative. What is poverty to you might not be poverty to another person in another local government area, another person in another country. So we ask them, what is poverty to you in your community? So they now begin to list out all the poverty indices in their community. And then we tell them, based on what you have identified as being poor, give us the names of people who you think are poor. So there are focused group discussions on that. So we have the women on one side, we have the men on one side, we have the youth on one side, we have the aged on one side, even some of the vulnerable groups. So you see that it's actually a community work. And when they list out the different people, we harmonize the list and say, okay, you all have sat down, and these are the names of the people. So we now begin to tell them, okay, that's the field officers. Now begin to tell them, okay, these are the people on the names. The essence of doing that is that everybody is seeing what is happening. Yeah. So when they list the name, for example, a name jumps out and say, no, that woman, she's not poor, she's probably the Enuge's wife, or she's somebody that's married to a rich man. They take off the name from the list because we're trying to avoid errors of exclusion and errors of inclusion. What that simply means is that people who are not supposed to be in that list are not included in that list. And people who are supposed to be in that list are included in that list, are not excluded from that list. So that's, we now harmonize that list. Then they go from house to house to now say, okay, based on what you said on this list, they go to check, do they have house, what do they have in their houses? And we use an app. We are now digital. So they use an app. And what that app also does is that, apart from now asking questions like, you have a toilet in your house, what do you have, and all those kind of basic things, the app actually takes the GPS location So if anybody from Abuja comes now to say, okay, I want to see so-and-so, maybe Mrs. Orogo, for example, and she's supposed to be based in Umegbe community in Oredo, let me go to that place. If the GPS reading and location is different, it means that was done in error. So so you see that everything, that the tagging and everything is done is in sync, so that the process is well properly done. And after that is done, they now take this list and send to Abuja, and they subject it to a scientific process called the proxy means test, which will sieve out, just in case, maybe, for example, I come into a community, I know you, I just like your face, I put your name, and maybe what the things I have listed does not represent the poverty indices as identified and defined by the community. Of course, that PMT, the proxy means test scientific method, will actually sieve you out. And once that is done, they harmonize the list that now forms the social register for that local government, and for every local government is put as a social register for the state, and for every state it forms as part of the unified register for the country. So you see that it's not just me looking at you, it's actually the community people themselves who come together to identify the people who are poor in their communities.
You're very thorough.
Yes.
The system is very, very
Yes,
thorough.
yes,
Good.
yes.
Now, how has the contribution of the Governor Godwin Obaseki's administration differentiated the work that you do in Edo State from other states?
So I know that you know that the Governor Godwin Obaseki is a people-centered person.
You know that I know. You are assuming that I know.
Okay, I assume that you know, but I am so sure because when I go to make reports, when I make reports, I know he says go back and make sure that the people who are supposed to benefit are those actually benefiting. I told you about the school feeding program. You know, even the conditional cash transfer program, we said, okay, poverty map. Let me see the poverty map. Why do you think that these local governments and all that? I want the people who are the poorest of the poor to benefit. Okay. Now, for the Empower program, Governor Godwin Obaseki did not just leave it at, oh, it's a federal government program, they're training youths. Part of the core objective of the Empower program is to equip the Empower beneficiaries with employability and entrepreneurship skills. So we did training. So apart from the trainings of BPB, Subeb, and all that for pedagogical skills, we actually partnered with Google for Nigeria and Google for Africa to teach them on digital marketing skills. So that, for example, not all of them are absorbed in the system, they can actually start an online business. I mean, and COVID-19 has actually exposed us to seeing that we can actually do business online more now. So we trained them in 2018 and trained them in 2019 on skills. We also partnered with a UK-based program, which is MADE. And they train some of our agro beneficiaries on agricultureship, on apreneur, which is bee training, beekeeping. And I will tell you that was one Empower beneficiary who took that training, has his own, I think it's Hive they call it now, whatever they call it, has that, and he also trained other Empower beneficiaries. And because of that, he also got funding from an international organization for more to increase his business. So that is what Governor Obaseki paid for.
What business does he do?
Apiculture, which is beekeeping.
Oh,
yeah.
Beekeeping.
Yeah. Of course, they make honey. And you know now, many people are choosing honey over sugar. So, of course, you know that he's in big business. And he has trained other people. So it's not just now, now that there are some other things that they need to do. He already has a business that he can run now. And he has people who work with him. So in many other states, I don't think that many other states have done a number of trainings that we've done.
No, because you go for conferences, you go for workshops, and then you interface with them, you interact with them. Now, I'm sure a lot of them probably would have mentioned one or two things that, oh, probably this does not happen in my state, or this happens in my state.
So the trainings that we've done, I don't think any state had done it before we did it, the Google training. In fact, I don't know if any state has done that Google skills digital training for them. I don't know of any state that has done, that's partnered with a UK-based organization to do that agricultural training. I know that GIZ did some things across some other states, but we actually approached them and we trained them. More importantly is the fact that during the Edo-based training, Governor Obaseki insisted that the Empower beneficiaries in the primary schools be part of that training. So he trained them, he also gave them the tablets as I mean, if you go to the schools, not just that now the batch A and batch B are over, but if you go to the schools, you don't even know that these ones are Empower beneficiaries or the main teachers.
So they
even
also
in the
got
primary,
a tablet.
got tablets. So even when they were teaching them at home, some of the Empower beneficiaries were also teaching. So he trained them for the Edo Best training. We also partnered with Amanda Sawyer from USA to teach them. It was an international capacity building training for teachers to teach them on some new pedagogical skills. I don't think any other state has done that. And guess who funded it? The state government has been funding all these trainings just to ensure that the beneficiaries, if they want to get a job, they are able to participate in interviews, go for interviews, get the jobs. If they want to start their own businesses, they are able to start their businesses. And so I feel that people, in fact, some of them actually resigned and said, "Oh, thank you for the skills. I'm not able. I've gotten another job. So at the Empower program, I'm through the Empower program now. I'm gotten another job. I'm going there." And also, His Excellency employed some of Empower beneficiaries in the government science and technical colleges, a few of them though, and because these ones have been teaching in the schools. And so when they had some spaces and he was going to employ some teachers in the government science and technical colleges, some of them were actually Empower beneficiaries.
Were they tested?
Of course, they went through an interview. There was a process. And we're also working on ensuring that many of them who have been doing well, who are diligent, we see that we can screen and find out those who, when there's an opportunity, will also be taken, into the system. I mean, so for me, that has been very key for us in Edo State for the Empower program. Okay. For the Government Enterprise Empowerment Program, the Trade and Money is very popular.
We'll come to that, actually, yes. All right, if you want to reach us, you can call us on 0905-170-71, 0905-170-2571. You can either call or you send an SMS, or better still, send a WhatsApp. But please do not try calling us via WhatsApp. Now, as someone who interfaces with the youth, what do you think are the most pressing needs of these youths in Edo State? And how is the government meeting these needs?
The youths, one basic thing is economic independence, financial independence. They want to be able to get a job and be able to stand on their own, so economic sustenance. But the state government has been very creative in this front. Yes, they want a job. Yes, they want to get a job that pays so much money. The government says, okay, I'm going to create jobs. But not just create jobs, it's actually making sure that while some of them are employed, he's also training a lot of people on skills. So 3 important things that people need to have. They need to have knowledge, they need to have skills, and they need to have the right attitude. So in the development world, we have an acronym that we call it as ACTS. Where you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have the attitude. Of course, you'll be able to stay in your job, you're able to start your own business and do very well. And so some of them are employed, some of them were temporarily employed under the Empower program, some of them have been employed through the Edo jobs, which are very well. Then some of them are trained. In fact, training is open just for people to show their interest. So the Edo jobs has been doing a lot, which is a skill development agency. Looking at the Edo Innovation Hub, the Edo Innovates. Under my office, we have the NSIP hubs, which is the Southside Innovation Hub there, and we have many people that have accessed some funds from the federal government. But in that hub, there are many companies. There's Facebook, there's Criterion University, training some of them on some of all these skills that makes them relevant, so that they themselves, they don't need to, for some of them who don't really want to work in an office, they want to have their own stuff. They want to be in the comfort of their homes, using their laptops to do good jobs, legal jobs, so things that they can make money, either you're developing apps, either you're doing, developing websites or whatever it is. That is from one aspect. Then the Edo Production Center, which helps to young people who have small businesses, small scale businesses. So they can do whatever they want to do, access to light and all that. They have a space, For the Edo Innovates, for the Southside Innovation Hub, which is under the Edo Innovates in ICE. What happens is that young people who want to start business, young entrepreneurs, they want to have a space. They don't know where to operate from. They have a space to operate from. That place gives them a space to operate from. Then you have access to internet. They have access to light. So they can do their businesses. So what the government has done is not just to employ some of them, is not just to train some of them, but also to provide the right environment for them to thrive. That's one area that we're looking at. The Edo Startup Funding Initiative, His Excellency said, okay, you've been doing very well, the NSIP hubs. I want to give seed funding to some young people to either start or grow their businesses. So there were 20 startups that were selected to access that fund. But we didn't just give them that fund. Because, like I said, knowledge is important, skill is important. So we actually did a training, and we did a business accelerator program to train them on business, financial management, market feasibility, and how to do an elevator pitch. Because some of them, they have some lofty ideas, but they need some money to take their business level from one level to another. So we had to train them how to do a business trip. For example, you have been looking for money, and you're saying, okay, I want to meet Dangote. If I just meet Dangote one day, he just give me 5 billion. I want to meet Dangote. And then you meet Dangote in an elevator, maybe in Protea Hotel. And then you don't know how to articulate your ideas for him to come and invest in your business. So we have to train them on how to do an elevator pitch so that you can wrap up your business idea so that any investor that hears you have interest in that. We did that, and then His Excellency gave 500,000 naira to 20 startups. Some of those startups are
actually coming to that startup.
Yeah. So those are some of the areas the governor has looked at to ensure, the state government has looked at to ensure that the youths who are looking for financial independence are able to either get jobs or create jobs and become employers of labor. Okay. So job creation is not just about, the state government employed me to work in the civil service, but the state government gave me what I need, the tool I need to become financially independent.
Thank you. All right, when we come back, we are going to be taking a look at the Edo State Startup Funds Initiative. Stay with us.
Previously, pensioners find it difficult to get their salary, not to talk of gratuity. Thank God today the modality that is in this very present regime of Godwin known as Obaseki, he has changed many modalities to be in favor of pensioners. The last clinic we did so, this complete and go help many situations that pensioners complete and go back home.
Before, when we want to do verification, we bring a whole file of documentations to come to do verifications, and I dare to say that we are the best state government in terms of biometrics now. The chairman of the pension union came in to say it's just, they cannot thank the government enough. They cannot thank Governor Obaseki for this innovation, where verification of pensioners is just in this list 10 seconds.
You're welcome back. Now, Osayuwamen, let's talk about trader money. Talk to us.
Okay, trader money is a very wonderful topic, because many people, it became very popular at sometime last year. But the very interesting part is that the government enterprise and empowerment program has been in existence even since 2017, 2018. It started with the market money, where they give 50,000 naira loans to some market women. In Edo State, 50,000 naira. Okay. In Edo State, 4,009 persons actually received that money in Edo State sometime in 2017, 2018. Then the trader money, because the trader market money had some stringent obligations, but for the trader money, the federal government said, okay, let's break it down. Okay. Let's ensure that those at the lower cadre, those at the bottom rung of the ladder of economic development, are able to get some funding. So those ones were given 10,000 naira. They're petty traders, people who can afford the stores in the market, and those who sell on the trays or in wheelbarrows, or just some small things. They can just stay on the roads. In fact, some of them, so the loans of 10,000 naira. The interesting part for us in Edo State is that
10,000 for how long?
10,000 naira For a year, but there's a monitoring period that is longer. So some of them are able to pay back within 6 months, and then they are able to access 15,000 naira and like that, you know, basically. It's the same thing with market money. Once you're able to repay your loan, and interestingly is that unlike some people that would just say, okay, this money is free money for them to keep in my pocket, some of them at those states are calling us to say, well, okay, I finished, I want to pay back.
Okay.
Very interesting fact. And the key thing for us in Edo State is that His Excellency, who is really interested, when I briefed him about the program, he says, okay, this money, so it's going to get to the petty traders. We need to ensure that it cuts across Edo State, all the 18 local government areas. So when the program was going to kick off in Edo State, enumeration was done across the 18 local government areas. Not one local government was left out. Of course, I mean, this program was done with, I mean, it's a federal government program, and the Bank of Industry is actually the one who does the financing and all the payment and all that. Okay. And so we went there to supervise and monitor and show that these people were being enrolled and their data was captured. I told you we are digital, so they use phones, they use the app to get their data. And of course, we've asked the Bank of Industry to give us the data, and over 25,000 people actually received the trader money in Edo State. The key thing for us in Edo State, at some states, they just heard the Vice President was coming to launch the program. But in our state, it was different. His Excellency said, we need to do this program well. And so it was properly done across the local government areas, one. He also involved the youths, young people, to be part of the enumeration exercise to ensure that those ones are actually involved in the process. You know, he's a lover of people and a lover of youth. So for us, that was key because we had government presence. The state government actually owned the program to ensure that that program was well done. And when the Vice President came, of course, you could see the large turnout of people who were ready to receive him. Okay. And that's for the trader money.
So if you are able to pay back the 10,000 naira loan, you will have access to
15,000, yes.
To 50.
Mm-hmm,
and
yes.
if you're able to pay that?
You get 20,000.
Okay, from 10 to 15 to 20.
Yes.
So they increase it for you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, your office supervises the Edo State startup. What are the achievements of this, and what are the sustainability measures that are being built into this particular model?
Thank you. I'd actually mentioned the Edo Startup Fund initiative before. The basic was that the first thing that happened was that seed fund people 500,000 naira each, but it didn't stop there. We did a training because for me, remember I talked about knowledge. Some people have ideas, but they don't know what to do with the ideas. They don't know how to fund the ideas. They are not aware that there are grants everywhere that exist. So in January 2019, we got some alumni of the Tony Elumelu Foundation grant in Edo State. And we did a training January 2019, and over 2,000 people were in that training. So what we did, we taught them how to fill the grant application form so that they don't make mistakes. And then some of them were selected and they were taught step by step what to do. They were coached on what to do. And for the first time, Edo State had a higher number of people who accessed the $5,000 Tony Elumelu Foundation. We had about more than 20 people access. Normally before, just about 3 people or 4 people that would benefit.
So the $5,000 is for one person?
Yes, one person. In fact, some of our beneficiaries, those who were recipients of the Startup Fund seed funding,
yes,
got the money also. And then they use it to expand their business. So for example, Mr. Owa Robinson, who does this thing, coaching and mentorship, who is one of our startup beneficiaries, actually was able to get extra funding, and he was able to rent a space. He has a section for ICT, so he was able to get laptops and computers to train the teenagers to equip them with skills on different areas. So when I went to monitor him at his office, I went to see, okay, we've given you this money. You also got the fund from TF. Let me see what you're using it to do. It was mind-blowing. It was more than a 3-bedroom flat that he was using, and more people were, some teenagers were coming to ask to learn some of the skills. That's just for one person. There's another lady who does things about lactation. So Luna Foods. Yeah. She says some women she's in the health profession, so some women are able to they give birth, they're not able to produce milk, so they have lactation problems. So she came up with that idea to package something that will help them. So she got that funding too, and we're also going to visit her. There's another lady who, she says, right from the comfort of your home, I can take your measurements and make some clothes for you. She's called, her business is called Chili Star. and she's doing a lot with that. She has been able to access another funding to take her from just an idea.
To the next level.
Yes, to the next level, just from an idea. And now you see, in fact, there are two of the dresses that she actually made for me that
so why didn't you wear one of them?
I do apologize. I do apologize. So some of the people who access the funds are able to not just have it in their head now, but have it in their hand. So like the Bible will say, they're able to see it and they're able to handle it, you know. And some of the startups are able to have been able to get some opportunities that we've matched them with. So, for example, we have PayByana, which is a payment platform that he owns. He has a partnership with GT Bank. This is somebody who was just on his own. He has a partnership with GT Bank. And sometime in April 2019, we did what we call the unveiling of the startups. Because His Excellency he gave seed funding, we've done trainings, but there are other people that need to know more about this. So we did an unveiling. So we invited private persons, we invited banks, we invited philanthropists to come and see and hear what they're doing. It was during that process that one of them said, okay, and it was even a UK-made program, and it was his payment platform that they used for their Greek project. That's money already for him. His bank account was just rolling and rolling and rolling, you know. Then we had the Educator app. The Educator app is from one of our beneficiaries by name Mr. Simon, and he has two. There's a dollar pay, which he has us in partnership. What that does is that some farmers in some rural areas, and I'm just here, and I want to access and buy some of their products. Instead of me thinking of how to do it, I can do that payment across the app. Educator, Eki Market, Edo Market. So instead of me looking for how, so that process, and if you want to pay, you can pay through that process, through the dollar pay, and if you're in a community, somebody pays through the Educator app, through their partnership on another of their app, which is dollar pay, you are able to access your funds. So in the community, maybe they don't have a bank there, the community person, the farmer can meet their agents, the mobile agents, to access their fund that somebody has paid. So you see that it's dual process. And when I heard about it, I said, okay, let me go and monitor him, because I'm from the social development background. We do a lot of monitoring and evaluation, and we don't just sit in the office. And I went to his office and I said, okay, you are doing a lot. Let me see what you are doing. And right on his laptop, his tech partner showed me the screen. I just kept seeing numbers rolling. I'm like, what's happening? Then somebody from Akoko, next thing another person from another place, what's happening? So these people, right on the spot, so it's a live dashboard. Right on the spot, they are using the app. So I asked them, in a day, how many people actually uses your payment platform? 1,000, at least, in a day. I had to sit down to see the names. The names were scrolling and changing on the spot in a day. That's somebody who just had it in his head until Governor Obaseki's an initiative, which is the Edo State Fund initiative, was able to take him from just when he first came, he couldn't even talk about his business. It was actually stuttering. So we had to train him on how to pitch. So you see that it's not just about giving money. There are things you need to know how to do. And some other people have showed interest in actually investing in his business. In fact, there are so many good stories that we can talk about from the Edo Startup Fund initiative. And another thing is that we did a job survey. How many of you have employed more people? So I'm amazed to know that some of them have employed, whether it's 2, whether it's 1, 5, they are able to get more people to benefit from what they are doing. So they're not just people who have gotten funding, they are now employers of labor, and their businesses are in the market, because we taught them how to do market feasibility. So in fact, Educator, when he started, he had to refine his business ideas when we put him with coaches. So what we also do for sustainability is to ensure that these people are able to access funding from the state government, also to be able to network them with investors. So we have a pool of people who we're constantly communicating with and sharing their ideas. People who have heard their ideas from home and abroad want to actually invest. In fact, we had somebody who said, I see what you're doing. I want to give money to 2 young women in benefiting from your program, beneficiaries. So we have people who are open members. In fact, there was another person, a private person, he has a private company in Benin, who came for that unveiling, and he was amazed after speaking. He said, I'm going to take two of your members and give them 500,000 naira each. He gave each person 500,000 naira. Yes.
Free.
Free. It's a grant. It's not a loan, it's a grant.
Just like the $5,000 from Tony and
Exactly.
Foundation.
Yes.
Free.
Free, no payment. So we go, what we do is that because he sees that we're also monitoring, we've gone to they make sure they got the space. We follow them up to make sure they got the space. In fact, one of them is actually doing something that has to do with welding. I think he has the only female young welder in Benin. I sound to be corrected, but she's young. And when I went there, I saw her. In fact, I thought she was a boy. And then he said, no, she's a girl. I looked at her again and I said, why are you doing this? And she said, no, she wants to do this and also raise other young women to be part of the field. That's somebody who did not even have that business before he came in touch with the Edo Startup Fund. Now he had we saw about four young people actually working in his space. And we'll always go back to monitor and see what they are doing to ensure that more people are able to access funding, then get trainings on business management, financial management, whatever it is, and also link them to likely investors.
Thank you. Now, in your own assessment, what are the 3 major projects that you think are sufficient enough to convince the youth to re-elect the governor for a second time in office, in your own assessment? Just 3. Briefly.
That's like what we will call, young people will call jam question number 1. Because His Excellency has done a lot. One main project will be for me, speaking for me, the Edo Startup Fund initiative, because it's right, something that he has done for people. Giving you 500,000 naira, taking you from just an idea to a business and becoming an employer of labor, and he said in the Aladeselu Youth Summit 2018, he said he's going to continue to make sure that he gives empowers the young people so that we don't have issues of irregular migration and trafficking. You can stay in Edo, be in Edo, build Edo, and make youths in Edo look like people who, put us in the global map. So when we're looking at youths that are doing very well in the world, in the country, they should be coming from Edo. The Edo jobs, of course, it's mostly youth-focused. The Edo jobs, look at it very well. Look at the trainings that they are doing. The trainings, for me, is key. Yes, I'm aware of those who went to do training in the solar panel. Solar panel is big business if you're able to do it well and connect well. You don't want to get, for almost every house you see them, they are doing, using solar panel to fund. Even the Edo HIP program, His Excellency, part of the renovation of some of the health centers, they actually installed solar panel. And from what I was told, it was some of the youth that were trained in Edo jobs who actually fixed some of the solar panel. So that's enough for you to know that Governor Obaseki wants the young people to become great, because we have the potential. Edo has always been known as a state of people who, if they are resilient, the women are resilient, the women are people are hardworking, they're diligent, and so the Edo youth should be that too. That's 2 projects. The third project is the agripreneur program. The agripreneur program, because I believe that, His Excellency is big on agric. I keep saying it that agric is the next big thing. It was our only big thing before the oil came in. But for us, it's the next big thing. There are many areas. And Edo State is blessed with so many agricultural products. In fact, we like to see some of our local governments, agrarian communities, And he said he created an opportunity for young people, give some of them money, monitor them, use the money to buy some things, and ensure that these people are able to do a business, get funding out of it. They actually structured the process. So of course, they connect you with the people who will be the laborers, connect with the people who will be the people who supply the produce, and the produce comes from Edo. Look at some of the things that he has done with the rice farm and all that. So for me, those 3 projects, because if the youths are able to be trained in the skill, in the area, during this during this COVID-19 lockdown, shutdown, many of the people who were trained in Edo Innovate and other opportunities were making money from just digital marketing, because many people now want to do more on the digital space. So agripreneur, we are trying to expand. And the Excellency is big on agric. So many things to do with the palm oil, rice, maize, and all that. And then the Edo Startup Fund, you come with your idea. We'll help you build it. We'll help you ensure that the money that is invested in your business is properly utilized, and you have the market to actually showcase your products and also employ more people.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll take our last break now. When we'll come back, we'll just go to our page for a comment or two. Please stay with us.
Obaseki turn Edo around.
This is our better government for Edo State. Straight to Obaseki now we want to know. Obaseki now we want to. Hey! No. Who will change this better government for Edo State? I beg you. Godfather no fit change this our better government. Evil say the one wey God don send, he no fit do anything for our Edo people. Our true God be king. God will not ever say, Obaseki.
Wey Edo must say they call Osayuwamen. He don't regase. No regase to her. That city not the vacant.
The seat na your own.
Obaseki, sit down for your seat. Jump the pass.
Vote Obaseki Shahibu. Vote continuity. Vote PDP.
You're welcome back. All right. Let's go to our page and see if we have a question or a negative comment. Okay. Stella Cole says, please, what is the criterion for selecting your candidates for the Edo Startup Funds?
Okay, so
She's based in the UK.
oh, welcome. So basically, the Edo Startup Fund is focused or targeting young entrepreneurs or startups. So what we basically need to see is that you have an idea, you're resident in Edo State, your business will benefit those in Edo State, you show willingness to grow your business and employ people. So basically, those are the basic things. We do not say, okay, you have to be in the agri sector, or you have to be in the financial sector, or you have to be in this sector. We just want to ensure that you are people who are based in Edo State. Your business will help those in Edo State, and you are willing you show commitment. And that's what we do during our boot camp. I didn't mention that we started boot camp, and when we started this program, we had a boot camp. Of course, there were more than 20, so we had to select out of them. So that's basic thing. So based on the funding available, we will now select whether we want to do 20, whether we want to do 30. However, we have open members. So even if you're not part of the people we select to receive funding, we're what we call open members. You're part of the process. So if there are trainings, we open, as they will say, we'll open the floodgates, we'll open the gates, and we ensure that you are part of that training. So we have that room. So there's no strict
or hard rules.
No, thank you very much for that.
No. Okay, this one is coming from Ivan Pana. It's just a comment. He says, when you have people like this at the helm of affairs, you must have success. No wonder this government is succeeding. This is great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is for you, since
Thank
you're
you.
smart. So with that, we've come to the end of this morning's edition of the program, and we would like to say a big thank you to Osayuwamen Aladeselu, the SSA and focal person at Edo State Social Investment Program. Thank you so very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And from her responses, you could see that she's been able to synergize with Edo Hip, Edo Best, Edo Jobs, the Agripreneur Program, and of course, a whole lot of programs under the Obaseki administration. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And for those that contributed, we say a big thank you to you. And Stella Grace Cole, you are very regular. Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Habiba Oyege Oyarekwa. Good afternoon.
No man is God, Obaseki, your governor, forward ever, backward never. let's go further together. Godwin Obaseki, Obaseki is the right candidate for Edo. Vote our man up. Oh yeah, 4+4 equals to continuity. Togba, Obaseki, continue your work. You do open stadium renovation, even with the do best. Plenty achievement for your time, oh. Our life will done better, eh. Obaseki Ashaibu, now them be the winning team. Godwin Obaseki.